Welcome to the Ward's Way Podcast.
Well, welcome to the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show 65th anniversary 2024. My God, 65th. I mean, they're not as old as us. We're 75. But
you're third generation.
I am third generation.
Right.
And I am lucky to be here with my good friend Bert Fowles with IGY Marinas and Marine Max.
Yes.
And
very proud.
We are here today to talk about, we're going to cover so many topics.
Let's do it.
But you know, we have these conversations all the time over coffee.
Yeah.
Always
remember,
so
you
good
brought me
about
into the industry.
I did.
Don't you remember?
No,
and it
how?
was at Pier 66. Was it Pier 66?
Well, tell the whole story.
So, coming into the industry, there's always that perception. And you and I go so far back. The point was the perception of the industry is this big white boat.
Yep.
And they see the single owner, they being the general public, as you know, and us included.
And legislators and
Correct.
a lot.
Well said. I think both public and private stakeholders from there. But, just walking us through the industry that we love so much, over 24 meters, there are about 7,000 vessels with active operation.
Wow.
So that's looking at a market of 7,000. But I think what we've added to the discussion, Christy, for you and I is only a third of that are estimated to be truly globally transient. So we're talking about a very small market that benefits so many. A single vessel over 24 meters will have approximately indirectly and directly 41 jobs supported by that one vessel.
Absolutely.
In addition to that, we are able to bring assets and resources into regions that don't have to put up capital infrastructure to the degree of a hotel or to the degree of a sports complex. So we're really quite a dynamic platform for benefiting the economy. And that is a discussion that's missed out. And I think you and I have touched that over the years.
And I think also one of the things is versus a hotel, and again, nothing against the hotel industry.
Nothing against at all.
But when you look at the economic impact that these boats bring then to those communities, for the provisions, for the fuel, for all the things that are required for that boat to keep going and to fulfill that charter, it's incredible. So
and it's also just understanding the migration patterns.
So let's talk about that, because I feel like I always have to explain that too. When you say migration, people are like, "What do you mean?" But
Christy, what's interesting? Let's take it back to what we are a part of, the yachting industry. Or let's stick to the super yacht industry, but it also extends to smaller vessels. We are part of the tourism industry.
Yes.
Okay, we're part of tourism, we're part of manufacturing, but the main goal of our assets is hospitality.
Yes.
And it's part of that equation that people don't seem to want to connect in that sense. So a vessel on your dock represents lodging, but much more than that. It's a home, but it's also something that allows for travel.
Yes.
And we are part of the international hospitality industry in that sense and contribute thereof. But as you rightly said, 10% of the vessel value is what's estimated to be from a maintenance standpoint. And that's what generates real benefit to communities that would not benefit from an asset of that nature unless you rightly said, build a hotel. But look at this, Christy. Monaco recently had their Monaco Yacht Show. And the Principality of Monaco, an amazing area, they were able to bring in $2 billion worth of assets into an area that I believe is less than 2.1 kilometers with a population of 39,000. So my point is, yachting brings real economic driving forces to areas that do not have to put into such an infrastructure. Now, Monaco is a unique case in the sense their infrastructure is incredible, but my point is yachting really benefits a diverse migration pattern. And as you said, or coming into the answer, boats move, and that's one of the best benefits to the economy when these vessels move.
Yes. And so a lot of them, just help me, I mean, I'm a novice on how they move compared to the way you are. Well, because I believe that you can track them throughout your facilities that you have in 17 countries.
Okay, so we have 23 marinas across 13 different countries.
Got it wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, that's
23 and 13.
Yeah,
okay.
23 and 13. And we've got about over 5,000 slips in inventory or berths from that standpoint. And then we've got about 800 slips that are specifically designed for over 24 meters. And of course, working with you over the years, you know that each of these vessels require very specific resources in that regard, whether electricity, water, fuel, all those aspects are really important. And that's what we need in the industry from that. And also, what I'm very proud to say is a huge majority, over half of the businesses in the superyacht industry are 80 employees and less.
Yes.
Small business.
All small businesses.
Small business.
Yes. So these migration patterns, so we're getting ready. So as we're sitting here at the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show and we're at the end of October, the boats now that are here or coming this way, they're going to come to the facilities, and then they're heading to the Caribbean for the December, correct? And so of those areas, they're going to stay there. They're going to have a charter season. They're going to go all around. And I know also IGY does a great job of working with all the various countries,
correct,
in trying to come up with customs and clearance and all of those, so that the boats can travel to those places, because when they travel, they use fuel, they do more provisioning, they're spending more money on these infrastructures, and then they're going to come back this way. We would love to capture all of them in the U.S. after the Caribbean. Some of them go from the Caribbean straight back over to the Med. But I know as part of U.S. Super Yacht, which I'm going to give you a plug, is chairman, president. What is your title? Yes.
Chairman currently, but we're all a team.
I know. But leadership starts at the top, and you are the leader.
Fair point.
As far as the U.S. Super Yacht, I know one of the big challenges that we're trying to do is make sure that there's Refit America, that all of these boats know, whether you're coming from the Caribbean or coming from the Med, the United States is a phenomenal place during that migration period, wherever you are in that migration, to get that work done. So talk about that.
And, hitting on what you said, it's with a sense of pride that I represent over 367 members in the United States Super Yacht Association.
And that's member businesses.
Yes.
So those are companies.
Those are companies that do business. The majority are small business. I would say over 80% are small businesses. And it's so important that the understanding of the migration first comes to the point of, as Americans and as the U.S., we need to be proud of what we're able to do for yachting.
Agree.
And I think it's such a deep breath for us. We, of course, support the entire globe, and we want to support each nation or country or any region to support yachting, so that elevates the entire industry.
Yes.
Our growth rate is about 4%.
Okay.
So about 280 vessels, if you want to just use the macro points. We have 7,000 vessels over 24 meters that have a heartbeat or an AIS, an identification signal. And of that, I would say...
And so for listeners to water that down, so you can go on to marine traffic.
Correct.
And if they have this AIS on, you can see, and I encourage everybody to go to a marine traffic. Now you can get better statistics, specifically if you follow Bert Fowles on LinkedIn. Make sure he provides all sorts of data points that you really need to take the time to look at. So you go back to your AIS, you can find these boats, and you could do it on cruise ships too and follow the migration patterns. But anyway, so they all have a heartbeat.
You're totally right, Christine. It's not about what is important. We're looking at analytics to support the industry.
Yep.
What is important to our data is where the trends are moving. In that sense, new destinations are looking to attract these vessels. What infrastructure do they need in place? So from a migratory pattern, we've got about 4 seasons. Let's see, we've got the Middle East, the Caribbean, North America, and there's some wider regions as well. But what's important is these boats move.
And they will always move.
Perfectly said. That's what it was designed for.
Yes.
So as we build out a migration pattern, what we consider as IGY across, and we have locations across the world, we are really partners and stakeholders with public and private entities looking to really embrace the industry and elevate it. Some have sport fish, some have sail, mega yacht, super yacht, cruise. But the important thing is generating an understanding to the local community that this is a benefit for them. And the infrastructure is so important because you don't need, in some areas, you have mooring fields. In other areas, you have concrete docks.
Right.
But looking at what you can balance with sustainability, with what you're able to grow the market, you're able to really look at elevating this industry, because here at the boat show, we are generating more money from economic impact than a Super Bowl. But here's the beauty.
Every year.
Every year.
Every year. With no cost to the city.
Well, that is the amazing part. And that's when you and I served on the Marine Industries Association of South Florida board. What you and I really generated was an understanding of the importance of what this drives to the local community. And as Americans, what it drives to businesses that really generate. And of course, you can apply that to any country.
Sure.
It's also just good to understand what stakeholders mean to really generate a conversation around yachting that goes beyond who owns the boat.
No, I agree with you. And I'll give you another example of where you and I dealt with that. Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah.
So, you want to add two topics to it. One, you have the perception of yachting being just about rich boat owners.
Correct.
Then you try to go speak to the legislature and say, but wait, we're an industry that doesn't need to be overregulated, and we could really use some support, some legislative support. And it's the empirical data that you've come up with, and it's what was it? Big boats equals big jobs.
Yeah,
was
Keep
a
it
slogan
simple.
that
Keep it simple.
You were head of marketing for USSA for that.
Correct.
And it's so important. And I will say, every legislator that we ever get a chance to sit with and really tell them, here's the industry. Forget any bias you may have. Here's the industry. Here are the jobs. Here's the people living in your community that can afford houses because our industry pays
Totally
better.
correct.
And here are the customers they serve, and they happen to move around a lot, but these big boats create big jobs. And I know that that's another one that we've worked on together and clearing that perception.
And I think one of the key things of the result of that, and I think we can be proud as part of the community, was that, and we may have touched on this before, every single location here at the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show, the 7 locations, each is under some form of redevelopment.
And that is insane. So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't even know that people know that the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show, it's kind of like people say they're going to Disney World and they think Magic Kingdom, or they think Epcot, and they go, I never went to Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
What is that? So when you think of the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show, I know people that think, it's the convention center, right? And it's like, no. Or it's Hall of Fame. No. So say it again, 7 locations.
7 locations. And it's important for the market to understand that this is an economic driver.
Yes.
Many people will look at Disney World. God bless Disney, more power to them. But that is an entertainment venue. What we have is a real embodiment of a holistic show.
Yes.
We have consumers, we have interested parties, we have persons who just want to see the assets. We're the largest, held in Fort Lauderdale is the largest in-water boat show. We'll have over 1,000 vessels, but it also brings out the expertise of what we can do from a niche industry to benefit the entire state and building up to the nation. As with the USSA, we have regions all over the US, and we also embrace our international partners.
Yes.
But the point is, what really strong relationship can we develop for an understanding of an industry that gives so much, that takes it beyond just the first level of discussion? And I think that starts with conversations like this that slow it down.
Yeah.
That really get into 41 jobs for each boat, the spinoff of spending. Like you said, they're able to pay a mortgage. I think when we were at MIASIF, the Marine Industries Association of South Florida, we pay, the marine industry pays over the state average.
Yes.
And those are important points when you've got to put, go to grocery stores.
Sure.
Or as we say in Florida, Publix.
Yeah.
So
you got to get a pub sub.
Yeah. The best.
The
best.
Yeah. Shout out to Publix.
Yeah. Shout out to Publix. But I think these discussions help to bring a slower, real appreciation of an industry that's given back so much.
Yes.
And, and we need to start with this too, Christy. The owners.
Agree.
Who take a real embrace of the sea, the love of the sea and their families, and take it further. You and I are supporting that industry, but it really takes a commitment. And I want to say thank you to all the owners, the captains, and the crew that make up such a huge part of our industry.
I agree. And, those captains and crew also are industry members that own homes, that have kids, that have mortgages, that just happens to be their job.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they're all TV celebrities, but I have to say, even Below Deck got a lot of flack over the years, but I think some of the captains, Sandy, she's done a wonderful job. I think she's tried to get out there and talk about topics like mental health and talk about ways that, and I actually see people that are, I was sitting with Lisa Morley earlier with MPT and talking about, crew, the amount of effort, you don't just get hired as a crew person, even if you're just like, let's say you're the deck person and you think your job is to just squeegee, the amount of coursework that you have to take, because ultimately this yacht is going to be, you're responsible for passengers, you're responsible for their safety, the amount of safety training, the medical training, all of that goes into, even if you're just the person that is a chamois, or maybe you're only the stew, you're the third or fourth stew that you think all your job is laundry. I want owners to know the amount of effort that these crew and the professionalism, and what Sandy's done is trying to teach them, be your best, work your best, be the best stew, be the best deckhand, be the best, and don't get pigeonholed, So I do think that crew has come a long way, and just really, we have such a professional industry that sometimes can get masked by,
I think, Christy, it starts with us. I think
I
think the discussion has to be about the professionalism. You raised Captain Sandy as an example. She's a champion.
Yeah.
And representing our industry in a holistic way, really looking at what it takes, the challenges, and when you look at the insight that she provides to an industry, what is so exciting is, where else does our nation have such a unique vantage point other than the yachting industry?
Agreed.
Most yacht owners over a certain size, especially in the larger sector, are Americans.
Yes.
And once again, I applaud all international owners, but I'm just saying we have to understand the process of the industry to embrace it as tourism, manufacturing, service, and really look at the specificity of what we're able to deliver.
Yes. So who's our competition? Because I heard today that there's a country out there, a continent, that's giving us a run for our money on refit, and that they're really kind of going after it.
Well, I put it this way. I won't comment on any specific competition, but I will say the competition relies in our own industry and elevating it. I'll jump back to Wards. What you've done to elevate the industry with just bringing shore power, or the complexity of what's wrong with the vessel. How do we correct it? How do we maintain it? Mm-hmm. I think whatever elevates our industry is good for us.
I agree. And I think competition, by the way, is healthy.
Exactly.
I mean, I always say, I don't want to be the only marine electrical company. And I work well with all of my competitors, because at some point, we all have to work together, because that boat is going to go someplace else.
I couldn't have said it better.
For example, this month, I know that we are visiting a company that does very similar, exactly what we do over in the Netherlands. We're visiting with a couple of shipyards and we're not trying to come in and say, as Americans, we think we can do it better. We're saying that our collective customer comes to us and goes to you, and let's work together to give them the best experience.
Well,
and that's my philosophy.
You hit the nail on the head. And in a sense, what all of our industry needs to do is look at a frictionless experience.
Agree.
And the embodiment of that statement is, how can someone looking to get into our industry, growing at 4%, roughly, using whatever plus or minus you want to throw into the game.
Sure.
So that adds about 200, based on 7,000, that adds about 280 vessels into let's call it the ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And elevating the approach to say, look, I feel comfortable purchasing this vessel because I will get a certain period of use. And then I think, touching on data, let's understand the customer. What's the customer journey? So a person typically owns a home for, 8 to 10 years, maybe. He'll own a car. He or she will own a car maybe for 4 years. How long is a vessel owned for? And I think as we benefit the customer journey across the globe with new destinations, mm-hmm. new activations, mm-hmm. new entertainment, we can really start looking at generating economies that are supported and already supported by the yachting industry. You know, you and I are speaking of vessels over 24 meters or 80 feet, technically, you know, the colloquial term of mega yacht. But what's important is everyone with a boat, if they can have a better experience and we can deliver it, and I think all of us owe it ourselves to do that internal competition to say, how do I make it easier and frictionless? And you mentioned captains. We're looking at taking, they take assets all over the globe. What can we do when they hook up? You and I have dealt with power variances all over the world.
Yes.
What can we do to make it easier, better, whether it's fueling, power, provisioning, and what can we do to make it better for the crew and the captain?
Yes.
Of course, the owner experience is paramount to elevate it, and you said it best. It has to be elevated, and this is one of the things that I believe we can bring out a new philosophy is what are the standards? You know, in your marine electric, there are standards.
Oh,
there's
absolutely.
voltage, there's amps, and so forth. So I think elevating that, we have a number of marinas that are five gold anchor accredited, and we have one platinum accredited facility. So it's important that we bring standards to the industry working together to say, well, what does it take? If I say a certain hotel brand, you say, yes, that's Element. For us in the industry for yachting, we need to reach a level of bringing those standards together. It won't be easy, but it's what's expected.
No, but I 100% agree with you. And you guys have been working on it a long time. You guys, I say, as IGY.
Yeah.
And I believe that members of USSA and like-minded businesses, we all have to, you know, the theme of my manager meeting in September was developing a standard. We have a standard, and that goes with how you dress, how you show up, how you hold your tools, how you do. And if you don't, and you should have a standard, even young people coming into the industry or young people growing up have a standard, how you want to behave, how you want to interact, professionalism, etc. But on the yachting side, I think one thing that IGY has done a tremendous job, which is why we are a partner with IGY, is that you have developed a standard. So when these boats, you know, come to one of your facilities, which I've been to several of them, there is the electric is there. It's not just the facility that you have the electric, you have the water, you have the proper dockage. It's also the partnerships, the people that you have in those facilities, whether it's a restaurant that offers the proper food that the crew wants. We are not serving the owners in possibly, but the owners are not necessarily, it's what the crew wants. It's having the laundry services, having the proper car service for these crew that are only there for a week. They have a hard job to do, but they want a nice dinner and they want a place to get a drink, and they're safe. They could be going to some of these destinations, and you guys provide that. The other thing is these yachts, so many yachts now, and so many owners have multiple yachts.
Correct.
So they have the super yacht that where they're going to charter, and they're going to have all these, maybe big events. They have a sport fish because they also like to go fishing out there. They have a shadow boat that maybe is providing their provisions. And so we're not just looking at a standard for one boat or saying, okay, well, people that own these boats are this way, or people that own these boats are that way. We would be doing ourselves a disservice. We have to make sure that we develop a standard always. Doesn't matter. I don't care if you have a 20-foot center console, a tender. How many tenders are on these boats that we have to treat with the same exact care? So I know for us, whether we go work on a 10-foot tender or we're working on a 300-foot motor yacht or whatever, it's the same standard. And I think IGY does a tremendous job with that too.
And I look at the philosophy really carried on by our Chief Executive Officer, CEO Steve English. He comes from a business development background, and his leadership has been so crucial in looking at what's going to develop a specific, as stakeholders of the area.
Yes.
Some of the world's most famous marinas are under our stewardship, and we're working with both public and private stakeholders to make that area outstandanding.
Yes.
And I think when you and I discuss things such as outstanding, it has to be a level of what are the standards?
Yes.
It's the same point, when I talk to the market, if I were to say you're driving a car and instead of having a specific gauge, it said, well, you're somewhat out of gas.
Close.
Exactly. And I think
should probably stop soon.
And what Kenny Jones, our head of operations, is really driven is looking at, okay, the Yacht Harbor Association, one of the oldest marina rating systems in the world, has been able to look at, Christy, they look at specific parameters of each area to say, okay, this has been tested, and we only go for 5 gold anchor. But to bring your point, we've got to look together. And this comes from a true gut approach to say, okay, where do we draw the line to make sure that our industry is going to the next level?
Yep.
And just like we will re-energize a brand or an infrastructure, so does the industry. And that will lead to other areas saying, hey, let's work together, see how we do this. So I think coming back to your point about competition, I think our biggest competition is ourselves.
Yes.
How do we elevate it and have that owner experience so incredible that it brings new owners to the market? Now, what is important too, we mentioned the number of vessels. So when over the 24 meter or 80 feet market, based on the population, 70% on average of those vessels are private. They do not charter. 30% do charter. Now, what takes it even further as far as competition within ourselves, only a third of those, I think the number's maybe, a third of 7,000. You bring that down to like 2,500, 2,300. That's the true global market that go from place to place.
Right. You're right.
So now that leads to another challenge where persons start looking at, well, it's owner X, owner Y. That's not the issue.
Mm-mm.
The issue is, what is that vessel supporting? How is it being supported? There's management companies, there's charter companies, there's provisioning, and everyone at this boat show benefits from that sort of ecosystem that says, look, this is a driving force for a lot of markets. And what's important, I push back on the yachting capital term. I believe we're a yachting hub.
Okay, I like that
And
better.
a hub takes
Tell me why.
A hub takes an approach, Christy, that says we embrace a true understanding of a long-term investment in a business. A capital, you can be the capital of X, capital of Y.
Sure.
But a hub says we can take care of your vessel. We know what we're doing. We're here for the long term, and we're going to continue to invest. Case in point, 7 of the sites here, all of the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show are being redeveloped.
What do you think about that?
I think it's incredible.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's hard-earned. Sort of leaving to conclude, I think we earn every vessel, Kristen.
I agree.
We don't, there are more iPhones sold than babies born every year. We do not grow at that pace. No. We have a close relationship with our customers. We have to. Mm-hmm. They look us in the eye, whether that's the crew member, whether that's a small diving business, or whether it's a bigger business. But I think the philosophy, and I have to give total credit to MarineMax, IGY, Northrop & Johnson, Fraser, all under the MarineMax umbrella. There's the same ethos of a true family unit that is advancing the industry. And I think we're all proud to be a part of that, just like Ward's is doing as well. There's no vessel that arrives just by chance.
Nope.
I think we earn the business, and we have to earn to keep the business. And I hope all destinations across the globe do the same thing.
So would you compare yourself, because I would, and if you do, what is the name? But I feel like IGY and MarineMax as a whole, because you are a whole family, has developed a Michelin standard, so to speak, of the destinations. And in fact, you have had Michelin restaurant chefs at some of the facilities.
Yes. That's such a great point to make. I think coming back to the standards, what we've implemented at IGY, following the MarineMax ethos, is a rating system based on, we look at feedback from the customer. I think that's so important. It's called fans. And what we've done is really look at the system of a rating system that says, hey, what is the customer saying? And we're able to build on that to improve operations. Sure. And I know that Ward's has it as well, but without customer feedback, you look at the online companies, their lifeblood is feedback.
Yeah.
It's almost like a red flag flies up, which it does if you don't get something on time.
Sure.
I think under the MarineMax portfolio, really building that out has brought up a customer survey or customer integration, a customer relationship based on true analytical data to say, where are we falling down? It just really comes from a caring approach to the customer.
Agreed.
And, my new phrase is, hurry up and slow down.
Okay.
Because in the moments we're all running around, fast paced and so forth, I'm not going to claim ownership of that statement, but if we're able to look at this industry in a way, because we're all busy, but really look at the data.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of countries say, or destinations, I'll double my business. Well, you're either going to get your business from new customers,
Right.
or you're going to get business from someone else. And I think elevating the approach to what we're able to do as together will really elevate the experience for the customer journey, not only for the owner or the captain, but I think for us.
Yeah.
Just understanding.
I agree.
How long does a vessel stay within ownership? What is the process of sale? You know, there's some amazing brokers out there in the industry, but I think as we look at it from a whole prospect, but it's a beautiful boat. That's our biggest challenge.
Right.
You just have, you know, that single data point seems to drive a lot of the conversation, which is, I think, things like this really help us together.
Well, you know what I found out in my tenure with Marine Industries Association, and we spent a fair amount of time understanding, but do you know the number one reason people go to a boat show?
What's that?
To have fun.
Yeah.
And, you know, you would think, did you really need to do a study? Did you really need to find out? But, you know, there's so many things that everybody is trying to accomplish at a boat show from our perspective that we forget.
Yeah.
People come here to have fun and they want to have an experience. It's our job to take away the stress. It's our job to take away the problems. They have a great place to go. They have a boat that's running
And
running
the number
well.
one reason they have a boat is to connect with their loved ones.
Exactly.
It's the ultimate connection and experience. But, you know, this leads to another point, Christy, anxiety.
Yeah.
The anxiety of operating a vessel. How do we bring that down?
Yeah.
Captains do a great job of that, but you're dealing with, you know, many dimensions of operating.
But I
Not just
guarantee
one.
there's probably not a captain that wouldn't come in here that doesn't tell you they haven't been anxious.
Of course.
I mean, they just are the ones that have to bear the burden.
Any size vessel.
Any size. It
Any
doesn't
size
matter.
vessel, whether it's a wave runner or a small little boat, even a paddleboard. You're dealing with the anxiety of the beauty of the sea. And I love what you said. Bringing it back home is an amazing way to say, our industry is about fun, and you and I deal with the business of fun to make it a frictionless experience for the customer.
So, last point.
Yes.
Where's USSA? What's on the agenda for USSA this year coming up?
It's been absolutely amazing. The good news is, based on data, we're probably in one of the best financial positions we've ever been in.
And
that's
so important for an association because without money, you can't do the work that needs to get done.
Our lifeblood has been membership.
Good.
You know, thanks to our president, Kitty McGowan. But what is also important is our membership.
Yeah.
You know, our membership, where you look at companies that are really vested, and many are small business, are vested in the approach to say, how do we make this better? So to answer your question, we're on 3 points. One is to increase our customer engagement, which is bringing value to an understanding. We just had a destinations panel, which is why I was a little late. We're able looking at best practices and data to help them all over the globe.
Good.
To elevate that experience. Number 2, driving membership so that companies that want to be exposed to the super yacht market, they can join and really understand and be part of our network. So we are it's not just a boat show. We have events constantly throughout the areas in that. And last but not least, a regional perspective, including a global international insights. So what we're seeing, Christy, is working together, we are able to bring a true understanding of the industry from not only a local perspective, not only a regional perspective, not only a state perspective, but international. And I think working together, we'll look at seasonality. Where can we play off or work together between the 2 different areas or 3 different areas? And that's what IGY model was based on, coming back to just a business sense. But the USSA's drive for that value, membership, networking, it's working.
Can I make a plug?
Go ahead.
You need a strong legislative committee, which I know you have, and I know it's always been, but it's always me on my soapbox. I know. What's your legislative agenda right now?
So Joe Dargavage and Monique are driving our legislative initiative. They are sharp.
Good.
What I will say under my chairmanship is making sure that we look at points, but complexity to therefore drive to the market a simpler message. I think what's happening when you deal with a consumer or a mindset without a true understanding of a legislation approach.
Absolutely.
And you taught me all, but you were able to explain it to me in ways that I can understand. And I think, you know, we've got the right whale aspects. We've got navigational approaches. We have all sort of persons looking in. I want to look out.
I agree.
And we have to look out with a simplicity to the message from there.
Yes.
But It's an amazing industry to be part of.
It is.
I am proud of all the companies in yachting, and I'm also immensely proud to be part of the MarineMax family, but also the employees of IGY. We're a team.
Yep.
And we continue to build destinations. And it's
any new coming up? Any new ones that you can
Christy,
break right here?
There's always new. Always
really?
new.
I know. You guys are always. I follow everything I read. I'm always so excited to hear.
But congrats to Wards.
Thank
Christy,
you.
you elevate the game.
No, I do it with you.
No,
No.
You take full credit.
No.
Third generation, you elevate the game.
Well, don't forget, I'm the generation now that's supposed to, I'm gonna fix all that though. Well, don't you know the rumor is on third generations are the ones that I'm proving everybody wrong.
I got nothing to add.
We are 75, and I say we're just getting started.
I got your back.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for being a champion that you are. And anybody out there that listens to this, join the U.S. Super Yacht. It's $500. You'll get advocacy, you'll get marketing, you'll get wonderful data points. In the meantime, if you don't believe me, follow Bert on LinkedIn, IGY, and you'll be able to see all of those points.
You're
Thank you for making the time.
Thank you, Christy.
You got it.
Take care.
Okay.